How are you doing, fellow Yu-Gi-Oh! Duelists? It's the Shino Duelist here to give you his unwanted opinions on the upcoming ban list. As you may have heard, we've got a no sooner than ban list date on January 13th. Generally, but not always, that means that we'll most likely be getting a new ban list on that date or close to it. I've got some ban list predictions that I think will happen, as well as a few cards I think can come off the list, and hope Konami might consider just taking them off because there's no reason for them to be on there. That said, we'll get right into the predictions. As you may know, if you played in any regionals, YCSs, or just have a particularly competitive locals, we have about 4 top decks at the moment: Orcist and Orcist Sky Striker, Sky Striker, Thunder Dragons, and our salami boys, the Salim Angry. These decks have been destroying the competitive scene for a long time now. Sky Strikers in particular were released back in May of 2018 and have been dominating since then. With a plethora of YCS tops, this has been the deck to beat for the past year and a half. It has been hit on the ban list since its release, but nothing has quite knocked it off its throne, and it has still been splashed into so many other decks as an engine. While this deck certainly deserves heavy bans, in my opinion, they do have new support in the upcoming set Ignition Assault. This leads me to believe that even though Striker has been on top for a year and a half, they most likely will only receive light bans on this list. My guess is they will ban Sky Striker Mecha Hornet drones and limit or semi-limit Sky Striker Mobilize Engage. The ban to Hornet drones would stop the Sky Striker engine from being splashed into other decks to make a free link to, and hitting Engage would reduce the power and consistency of Strikers themselves. If they limit it, then it would make it impossible to draw Engage off of Engage, which can feel very unfair to everyone. Honestly, it's not a fair interaction in my opinion. Especially when they already can add Engage off of Kagari for a second use. Moving on, I think Orcist, the most dominant deck of the current format, will also receive some hits. Also released in 2018, this deck climbed into the meta fully when Dingirsu, the Orcist of Evening Star, was released. Orcist are a hard deck to hit, since even if you're limited every card, they most likely could still function as a deck. My guess is that Konami will ban Orchestrated Babel. One of the things that makes Orcist so strong is the fact that Babel turns their effects into quick effects. This essentially allows them to take another turn during the opponent's turn and generate huge advantages through Galatea. If they hit Babel, it would keep the deck strong, but they wouldn't be such a powerhouse. Other hits they might consider if they wanted to really reign in Orcist would be limiting or banning Galatea and or limiting Harp Horror. Next up, we have hits to Thunder Dragons. Thunder Dragons are another deck from 2018 that have stayed at the top level of play. While most aspects of the deck can be considered strong, it has resistance to destruction effects, works whether the cards are sent to the grave or banished, has good recursion, and large beaters to help close out games. Their main issue card is Thunder Dragon Colossus. As you may know, this card restricts your opponent from searching any cards. This stops many decks in their tracks, and if you don't open some form of non-destruction removal or negation, you most likely are going to lose that duel. My guess is that they will limit Colossus. There are many different ways to remove a single monster, but when Thunder opens up with 2 or even 3 Colossus, it can be nigh impossible to remove them and begin your plays. Most people may think that Thunder Dragons might not need to be hit, since they aren't the strongest deck at the moment. But if Konami inevitably hits Striker and Orcist, Thunder Dragons would quickly rise to the top deck position. They could also hit some of the main deck monsters to reduce some consistency, but my guess is they will hit Colossus itself. Last of the top 4 decks, we have Salim Angry. While this deck has been considered lesser or not quite as good as the other previously mentioned decks, it certainly shows its strength in competitive play. Walter Jewell actually got first in the recent Las Vegas Pro Play Tour tournament with Salim Angry, beating out many of the Orcist, Sky Strikers, and Thunder Dragon decks that were also being played. They would also be poised to be a dominant deck if Orcs, Striker, and Thunder Dragons got hit. I would think that Konami would likely limit Salim Angry Spinny or potentially Salim Angry Foxy. If they wanted to hurt this deck, they would most likely want to hit its consistency, and these cards are the main way salads get into their plays. Something else they may consider is hitting Will of the Salim Angry. This card is used as an extender or follow-up play to play through hand traps. I could see them limiting or semi-limiting this card to help other decks stop salads from going off. Other than these 4 decks, I don't see too many other hits, although I could see Tempest Magician getting banned as there is a pretty consistent FTK involving it. Also, we now have a release date for Crystron Needle Fiber, or Halifrablibab, whatever it's called now, and we might see some precautionary hits to cards based on that. Things like Mecha Phantom Beast O-Lion, Blackwing Steam the Cloak, Glow Up Bulb, so on and so forth. We could also see some things coming off the list, such as Zodiac Trident or Broadbolt to 1, Deep Sea Diva to 2 or 3, Necroz Unicorn to 2 or 3, maybe Reasoning to 2 or 3, all based off of the recent OCG ban list. There's also always a chance that Maxi comes back to 3, but I personally don't see it happening in the TCG. There are a few other cards that I think could peel off the list, mainly just because there's no reason to still have them on there. Book of Moon is still limited, Tribe Infecting Virus is banned, Gen X Ali Birdman is limited, and you could put all of those to 3 and not have any issues. Tribe Infecting Virus might see some play in the Berlantian decks, but other than that, I don't see these cards having any meta impact. Something I'm predicting soon, maybe not on this ban list but further on, is a reset list. Something that absolutely kills all the top decks and the ones around it. Konami has been releasing new sets with decks in them that can't even match the power of decks that were released in 2018. Things like Tenyi, Marincest, Unchained, and the upcoming At Ignisters just won't be able to compete with what Orcs and Sky Striker and Thunder Dragons can do right now. Even if they slammed Orcs, Strikers, Thunder Dragons, and the rest, things like Altergeist, True Draco, Goo Control, Invoked would still probably be top contenders over these new decks. That's why I think Konami might just wipe everything, reset the meta as a way to push their new product. They've done it before, back with things like the Dragon Ruler format, or when they hit Shaddolls and Necroz. We also might be getting some new Master Rules soon. While we don't know what MR5 will be, we can definitely expect them to make some adjustments via the ban list with these new rules. That about wraps up all my thoughts on the upcoming ban list. Am I on point with these predictions, or do you think I'm way off? What cards would you want hit or taken off the list? Feel free to let me know down below in the comments. If you like this video, please leave a like, and if you haven't already, go ahead and follow the channel if you're interested in anything like my deck profiles, archetype reviews, pack openings, and more. I'm also on Twitter and Instagram, so you can follow me there too if you're into that. I'm the Shino Duelist, and I'll see you next time.